Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Self Pub Sunday. Today, we're joined by Alexzander Christion. Did I say that right?
Yeah, it's just Christian, but
Oh,
yes,
I made it sound even fancier.
Christian.
The Z in your first name threw me off, so I
Yes.
thought like your whole name was fancy.
We do that. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to make the you that you want you to be, why go small?
Absolutely. Whereas me on the other side, my parents named me Kate, just straight Kate, because my mom was like, well, they're going to call her Kate anyways, so might as well just cut straight to it.
I went the other way. I gave all of my kids one rock star name. So, like, if you end up as the front person in the band, you've got a name. So we got Leilani, Tiger Lily, and Aurora are my daughter's middle names. And I was like, and there you go. Just that's your Beyonce.
I'll be like the background singer.
If you heard my kids sing, you would realize you would be the front singer.
I was named after one of the original Charlie's Angels, though. So.
Yeah, I mean, interesting.
So welcome. As we discussed before we went live, I am sadly still in the middle of Rook, but thoroughly enjoying it. So
that's at this point, I don't even care if you finish it.
I have to finish. I'm a serial finisher.
Really?
Even books that I'm not really enjoying, it takes a lot for me to DNF a book.
Oh, man.
I'm always like, what if I miss like that big moment that makes everything
all worth it?
Or, I'm always like, what if I miss something brilliant? So it takes a lot for me to DNF a book.
I got 100 pages, and that's if it comes highly recommended from someone whose opinion I trust. It's such a time restraint when you're trying to do, the full-time job and the full-time writing thing, and then you're editing and promo and yada, yada, yada. So to give something like 400 pages to maybe be good.
I will say the few books that I have DNF'd, I gave myself that 100 pages is my cutoff.
Yeah.
If I see nothing like a popular book that I DNF'd before with the Lies of Lockamora.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everyone loves that book. I made it past 100 pages. I think I gave it like 150 because I'm like, everyone loves this book. I must be like,
there's something.
Like, right? I have to keep reading to find out. But I couldn't keep track of that story. Who's doing what and when and where and what. And I was so confused. I'm like, if I don't know what's happening after 100 pages, I'm not going to know what's happening the rest of the book.
Yeah. Let's just bow out gracefully and good. Yeah.
Right. But I do give it that 100-page mark. And then, if I still am completely lost or have I'm a very forgiving reader.
Yes, you are.
One of my MFA professors said, I think that was the phrase she used, because I'm the type of writer, I've always enjoyed all of the readings I've had, whether it's personal readings or readings that we had to do in school, assigned readings.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been able to find at least one thing in every book that I can either relate to or enjoy about the book. And so if I have that one thing, especially in the first 100 pages, then I'm going to finish a book because at least I had that one thing that I liked.
Right.
Even if I didn't like the rest of the book, at least I had that one thing.
It's like McDonald's fries. No matter what I get, if I get the fries, it's all right.
I mean, sometimes I'll go to Wendy's and I'll just get fries and a Frosty because those are the things I like best there.
Do you dip
and then you dip,
Yes. Yeah.
With the salty and the chocolate. Anyways, we get distracted.
Yes.
Today we're here to talk about you and your books.
All right.
So I kind of have a set of questions that I kind of ask everyone.
Okay.
Just so people know kind of what to expect when they come in and watch this.
Mm-hmm.
But the conversation is different every single time because we're all different people. And I've had very different books and authors on here. so far. So I'd like to first start talking about your writing career.
Okay.
And a lot of people are uncomfortable with that term, but I consider even just one book the start of your writing career. So
Absolutely.
y'all got past farther than me. I don't even have a published book, so or a finished book.
Because you love the editing. It's because you love you like Rothfuss. You just love the editing.
I love the editing, and my MFA thesis is stuck in the research triangle. Literally,
yes.
I have an MFA in nonfiction writing, creative nonfiction writing, right. And I've got 2 chapters left to write, and I just like get sucked into the research.
Yes.
I've found where I enjoyed the research more than the actual
writing. I've lost an entire weekend.
I'm like, I know way too much about this topic that I haven't even written about yet.
Yeah, and it's not that big a part of the paper.
Right, it's just one chapter where my family came from. But if you ever need to know about Scottish history and Mary Queen of Scots, I got you covered.
Got me covered. I know who to come to. All right.
So, have you always wanted to be a writer?
Yes, but I didn't always know it. For a while, I was on the path to be a preacher, which anybody who knows me finds that staggering.
I wanted to be different than a writer.
Yes. I wanted to be an actor for a long time, and I pursued that. Auditioned for shows and I did theater in school. I was in chorus. I used to think I was an artist. Me and my friends like to make comic books, and then I met a guy who was an artist, and that's when I realized I was a writer. But it was actually 7th grade. We had to write a brochure was the assignment for a fictional business. And they give us the last 5 minutes of class to get our things together, get ready to go. And the teacher decided to read mine to the class as an example of good writing. And, because I suffer from high self-esteem and I just need that dopamine, I was in for life.
My moment was in 8th grade, and we had to keep like a part of our daily homework assignment was to keep like a journal.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have like free writing time in class.
Ooh. And
like our assignment would be like write like 5 sentences, and I would write like 5 pages.
Yeah.
And my teacher would like, I remember one day she like announced to the class, like, get this girl's autograph because one day she's going to be a famous writer. And like the entire class just lined up.
That is awesome. Yeah, that would be a defining moment for me.
Too bad I'm not a famous writer now.
Yet.
We'll see. So speaking of writing, could you talk about maybe some of your writing inspirations, or I like to call them writing heroes?
Absolutely. As far as my style, that is definitely shaped by R.A. Salvatore and Patrick Rothfuss. There was so much stuff that I thought would be great, so much stuff that appealed to me that everybody I talked to told me, don't do it. You can do it if you want, but it won't sell. And then I read Mark Lawrence, Prince of Thorns, and everything that they told me that you can't do, he did, and he made an incredible book. And at that point, it's been very difficult to take advice, because it's like it's so subjective. And I think it's not a matter of, as long as you write well, I don't think it's a matter of subject matter. I think it's a matter of finding your audience, and that I've not hit the level of success that I'd like to yet.
Yeah.
But Rothfuss has this prose, like he'll he said it was as wide as autumn's ending, it was as heavy as a great river smooth stone, it was a cut flower patience of a man waiting to die. Cut flower patient, like I'm dead. It's just I'm just waiting for it to catch up. It I don't know, it speaks to me on on all of on a lullaby level, on a subconscious level. It's musical. There's a cadence to it, and I absolutely love that. And I was told that my prose is too purple, so I do try to
That's the
keep an
man
eye on
sitting
that.
in a purple room.
Yes, yes. This is and this is my safe space. Yeah, I just like I love words. Like if you could go with, it's funny how those things don't seem related, but they are. Or you could go with coincidence. Why wouldn't you go with coincidence? You know what I mean? But I digress.
There's a reason why we have certain words.
Exactly. Exactly. As far as career-wise, Michael J. Sullivan is a man who tried to sell books for years and he couldn't. And he self-published, and then he sold so many books that they came to him. That man is my that man is my writing hero. That absolute awesome. Like he makes, just from the Kickstarters, a full year's salary because people love his stuff that much. That is the goal. To just, people like, no, I'll pay you to give me another book. Like, just
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's how it always works. But you know what I mean.
When people are clamoring for that next book.
Yeah, and it's like, no,
Instead of
don't
like,
go
oh,
to
there's
work. Yeah, I'll buy you food. Don't go to work. Write the book.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Speaking of books, let's slide into talking about Rook. And first, we'll talk some spoiler-free talk for people out there that haven't read it yet. First, shame on you. But maybe we can convince them here to go and pick it up.
Fantastic.
So can you give us your elevator pitch for Rook?
There is a child who is a happy, carefree child until his 10th birthday, when he learns that he is actually a weapon created by dragon magic to raise an army to defend his homeland from a threat almost no one believes is coming.
That was maybe the best elevator pitch on these. I mean, like it summed the book up. It made you want to go read it, and it was condensed. It wasn't like a 5-minute elevator ride.
Oh man, I'm in a bunch of writing groups, and people will talk about how difficult it is to write a blurb, and I think it's difficult to take your baby and squish it down, into 5 sentences. But I break it down like this: what happens? Who does it happen to? Why is this person important? What happens if they fail? Why should I care? And that's and that's my guidelines.
So, what makes Rook, or By the Hand of Dragons, different than other fantasy books?
It is a book told in flashback. It is a book told in pensive numeration. So at the very beginning of the book, he tells you that he was a kid and he became a great hero and he became a king and everybody loved him. And then he looked up one day and all his friends were marching on his castle and he had become the bad guy. And he didn't realize when he became the bad guy. So he's going through his history trying to find that point where, those little sacrifices you make, those little lesser of two evil deals, when did he make the one that put him on the other path? So that's pretty much the story we're following. Just an old guy who really thought, it's the villain who really thought he was the good guy. And then he's like, something's not right about this army out front.
But how often really are dragons portrayed as the good guy?
Yes, really. It's very very few. Well, it's because they're greedy and selfish. It's like being an elephant. It's like, it's like I just go where I want to and do what I want to because, who's going to stop me?
Can a dragon be a good guy, though?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am in love with the Byronic hero with the kind of the way it was explained to me, they used Batman as the example, and it was like at some point he couldn't stop. He didn't know what else to do. He no longer really loves the city. He doesn't care about the city. He's not trying to protect the city. He just doesn't know what else to be. And so he becomes like this angry, bitter. He's doing heroic things, but not for heroic reasons.
Right.
And that is the thing in the beginning with Shifa, who is my hero. So in his mind, he's a weapon. And until he can complete this task, he can't be a person. So all of the training, all of the learning, all of the educating, all of the heroing is so he can be free. So he's doing good things, but not for good reasons. Right. So very, very early on, we see he's got the wrong perspective on things.
So where did you get the idea for Rook, or the series as a whole?
I believe it was December 2nd, 1999, after I left the theater watching Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. I was so irritated. I was so annoyed. They do this thing, and then like it was in 2000, and the same year the X-Men movie came out, and the X-Men movie had a grand total of 50 special effects. And each of Cyclops' optic blasts counts as a special. And I was like, we want the magic. We're here for the magic. We came for the fantasy. And they treat it as though it's, this very sacred thing. It's almost religious, like 4 people in the whole world can do it. And I don't think that's how anything works. I don't think that's human nature. It's just like technology. No matter who creates technology or how hard they try to keep it hidden, eventually there's a black market. Eventually it's mass marketed. It's just how we work. So if magic did exist, magic would at some point become as prevalent as technology. Right. So my world is a world where everybody depends on, like, lighting a lamp with a spell is as common as using a microwave. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like magic has just saturated the world. And I just thought that was a much more realistic view of the evolution of human beings. But it originally started as a screenplay, and nobody was interested in $100 million screenplay for an unknown. And then I kind of transmuted it into a novel, and I think it works better. I think it works better as a movie.
Okay, so which came first, the story or your characters, or kind of simultaneously?
This really shouldn't take me this long. I should have that answer ready. For me, it is always the character. It's the character arc. Mm. And then I build a world that would have created that character.
Okay.
The concept of that Ebenezer Scrooge thing, right? Where he doesn't have a heart of gold at the center. You know what I mean? Just to put it on, he's like, we're gonna kill you in your life. He's like, nah, I still want to be a Scrooge. Like I said, I thought that was a much more interesting take, just on what this. Okay, so I'm a veteran, and I was in the military. I was in the Army. Cool. And people, thank you for your service. Yeah, and they call you a hero, and you do some good. But the things that you lose along the way in particular areas is what really defines you. Yeah. So, this kid sets out to be a hero, and his fantasy of a hero and the reality of being a hero won't even fit on the same map. And that's what I really wanted to explore. Just, that getting what you want, and it's not anything like you thought.
Yeah. So I'm going to pause here because we're going to slide into some spoiler chat. Ooh. So if there's anyone out there that hasn't read Rook yet, go and read the book and then come back and watch the rest of this. Unless you don't care about being spoiled and you still want to read it. Maybe listening to the spoilers will make you want to read it even more. Read it, yeah. People always joke with me in the booktube world because I'm a person that doesn't mind spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Partly because I have a horrible memory. So by the time I actually get to the part that's being spoiled,
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
still fresh.
remember anything,
Yeah.
or it's like a vague thought, like, didn't I hear something about this at
Yeah,
one
something
point?
about a horse, and
It's
you're
not
like,
really a spoiler to me. But also, sometimes if I'm on the fence of reading a book or not, and I hear people talk in detail about the book, then it
yeah,
makes me want to go and read that book and
absolutely.
find those details that people are talking about. So, this
My
is people's
favorite new
fair warning.
my favorite new thing is trigger warnings, and I have found that books I was on the fence about, that trigger warning puts me into the book. Yeah, when they say it's like, deep dark themes, depression, exploring human nature, and slight cannibalism. What? Okay, I'm
Just
in.
like cannibalism, though.
just a little.
If it's decent cannibalism, then that's a different
Yeah,
thing.
like I don't want a buffet, but just
Just an appetizer.
exactly.
Okay, so who is your favorite and or easiest character to write? And you can either answer one or both. Or neither. You could just be fuck it.
I didn't know we could use big boy words. Oh.
We're grown-ups here. At least that's what I tell myself.
Yeah. That's what Rent says. So, Shifa, very early on, is my favorite to write. But very soon, Kahar, Raymond, and Roru. Those are the there's no struggle. There's no conflict. Like they are what they are unapologetically. Like, it is it is beautiful. Raymond is like, I'm a crook through and through. And and if you don't like it, there's the door. And I just love that confidence of self.
Yeah.
Of just I've made peace with what I am, and let's go. Full speed ahead.
I think he is at least up to 73% of the book. I think he's my favorite character.
Oh yeah.
I mean, to me, he is like, so one of my favorite fantasy series is The Band by Nicholas Eames.
Okay, yeah.
King of Wild and
Yeah.
Bloody Rose. And to me, Raymond is like your Moog.
Yeah.
He just is who he is, and
Yep.
like, screw everyone else. This is me. I'm not going to change for anyone else.
Exactly. Oh man, and I think there's a part of me that envies that freedom. Because when you go to work, you kind of put on a mask because you have to keep your job, and when you get small kids, like, oh, that duck is the prettiest duck I have ever seen. And to just be at that point or at that place where no filter, no no second guessing. It's just like, this is what it is. It just sounds blissful. It's like being a cranky old man and you're fine with it,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, on the other side of things, who is the hardest character to write?
Patience. I detest her through and through. She is, for all intents and purposes, just like Shifa. She is arrogant and stubborn and proud, and not for a second will she let you forget it. And it's irksome. It's like, she was his intended.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, she was his Eve. She was his Lilith. And everybody else was kind of a happy accident. Like that wasn't supposed to happen. So they can't get along. Like neither one of them can bend, neither one of them can budge. And then Kahar is so openly, just goo eyes infatuated with him that he's like, all right, this is the way we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite scene out of Rook?
when they sit, you haven't got there.
Okay.
At the very end of everything, the adults show up and they have to explain themselves. And Shifa and Kahar are they're basically sitting in the hall outside the principal's office, waiting to be called in. And he cracks. The bravado, the arrogance, it all falls away, and he is totally vulnerable. And he just shows her the 15-year-old boy who has just witnessed all this trauma.
Okay.
And she lets him know that that's why she loves him, because it bothers him, because there's some good in him to be offended by all this evil that was done. That's my favorite scene. You know, and also because it doesn't work like that in real life. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can be like, you know, and pour your heart in there, like, oh, man up.
You still did all this.
Yeah. Are you crying? Yeah.
Right. Men can cry too.
Thank you.
I think so far, I look forward to reading that scene. So far, my favorite scene is the library scene. I'm a sucker for libraries, and so when they get to the big library,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I can just live in this place forever.
Yes. They have is Borders still a thing where you are, the bookstore?
Sadly, no.
Right. So I'm from a town in South Florida called West Palm Beach, about an hour north of Miami, and almost everything is on the beach. And they had a wraparound balcony facing the ocean on the second floor of Borders.
That's amazing.
I literally cried when I was like, why won't you people support this? This is magnificent.
Borders was the best bookstore. I'm still sad when I think about it.
I'm sorry. Sorry, everybody. I'm sorry I brought you down. They had a cafe inside and a Starbucks and
they always had the best recommendations.
Yes.
And the nicest staff. Like any Borders I've been to, no matter like where in the country it is,
there's
always nice people working there.
Yeah. I wonder what the application process like. They're doing some screening because they got some good ones in there. I love the fact that when I hit the escalator, I would get butterflies. Because like I knew like the children's and the you know, like the Colin Powell books and the actual history, like, you know, like adult books, all of that was down here. But I was going up into just heaven. Right? Get this little flutter and you come up into the fantasy sci-fi. Oh, yeah, I miss it. If there's anybody out there who can bring Borders back, let me know what I can do.
We need that star back.
We need that.
We have a kind of a similar store, not a Border store, but we have a used bookstore here called McKay's, and there's 2 in North Carolina where I'm at, and then there's a couple in Tennessee. And they do more than just books. They do books, video games, DVDs, everything, equipment, but it's like humongous places.
Yeah.
Like
we've got
multiple levels. I'm just like, the first time I walked in there, I was like, I'm home.
Oh, yes, my peoples.
And like, you know, because it's a used bookstore, it's like a true used bookstore where like prices are like dirt cheap.
Oh yeah.
Like I got the entire Game of Thrones series for like $10.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Yeah.
We have a place out here called Second and Charles, but they do vinyls and like retro video games. Like you can get original Nintendo with all of the games, and often I don't buy stuff. I just go be in that energy.
Yeah, absolutely. My stepdad is a big hoarder, and he always goes, I guess like at their local dump, they have like this place where people can just like put books that they don't want, like a book bin. And he's like always bringing me like literally like boxes of books. So then like I sort through them and find like usually there's like 1 or 2 books in there
Right.
out of like 10 or 20 that
Yeah.
I actually want, and then I
Right.
take the rest to Mickey and I get store
Oh.
credit.
Oh, look
Yeah.
at you, you little hustler. Come on, girl.
Right now he's like cleaning out the house because he's got a bunch of health problems. So he's at that like kind of end of life depression where he's cleaning out so my mom doesn't have to, he tells her.
Right.
And she's like trying to like, she's happy about it because he's got a lot of stuff there.
Right.
But she's like, Kate's running out of room. I'm like, not really, because I just take what I don't want.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever the case doesn't want, I either put in their free bin or take it to the Goodwill. So it's being used.
That is, yeah, that is. Oh man, I don't. I wish we had that kind of setup here, but we don't. This is a very weird place that I live now in Maryland, on the border of West Virginia. So it's like a city built around a military base in a rural area. So it's books aren't the biggest sellers out here. Just saying.
Yeah. So back to Rook, what was the hardest scene for you to write?
It's got to be something with Garrison. It's Garrison has done so much and has seen so much, and he's just had years and hundreds of years to ponder it. And he gives these little monologues. He gives these little speeches. But when you're 16, you can't just take advice. You know what I mean? Especially if you're the hometown hero, like you're the captain of the football team. You're the rock star. You can't just surrender that alpha mentality and just take advice. So trying to find a way to make it believable for a 16-year-old who can literally level a city block, just, you know what I mean, to just be humble and take advice. It was the amount of times I rewrote it because it didn't feel authentic was irritating. Absolutely irritating. To take a cocky character and try to train him was not a good business model. I didn't really think that one through.
Well, it has worked out for you now because you've got your 3rd book just came out?
The third book in the series. What I did was I pulled a George Lucas. So there was going to be a trilogy that all took place on Fumishan, on the homeland. And then they leave and they realize that the world has moved 1,000 years beyond them. So the Flintstones step outside and meet the Jetsons. So that's the plan. So the first book I released was Alexzander, which is book 4. Then I went back to do the trilogy. But the trilogy was so big, it's become a saga. And I'm really just trying to get back to the present so that we can move the story forward. So I have 3 novels, 3 novellas, and a short story, all in the same world, because I sat down and I wrote a 1,400-page book, and those don't sell.
I mean, well, they might.
You could chalk an airplane with this thing and it wouldn't take off. Like it was insane.
Yeah. So that's a big undertaking.
Yes.
That's a lot of books.
Yes. I think it's a lot. I think it's a lot of words, in the sense that I mean, the story is what the story is, but trying to figure out where to chop it, you know what I mean, and break it into pieces was the thing. So I was deployed and I didn't have internet, but I had 16 spiral notebooks. 5 subject spiral notebooks, and I just destroyed them. I just burned them. But it's one of those things that when you go into a character's past and you try to, we know what he is at 20, we're going to start at 6, and you fill in those years in between. The characters teach you things that you didn't know. They teach you things that you come up with things that you didn't create. You get to the point where you're just a vessel, right? And they're speaking through you, and you're just like, oh, he likes ice cream. I know. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things, and it just keeps expanding and expanding, and you've really got to get a hold on it. I was kind of beating myself up for not being where I thought I should be at this point, and then I realized it's only 4 years, and I've got 8 products out, so I can probably calm down.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
I can probably calm down. Yeah. Hang out with the kids or something.
I guess if I have to.
I have a question for you, if I may.
Yeah, no problem.
Now, I wrote Saber, and it's a novella, and it takes place between book 3, and book 4.
Okay.
And it is not my best writing.
Okay.
But it is the one time that I didn't think about marketability, and I just wrote what was in me, right? And I just put it out. And I was told to never say that. It's like, never, every book, this is my best work ever. And I was like, do you feel like that? Like sometimes just give me a fun one.
Yeah, absolutely. I, especially in the world of fantasy, you need those fun, lighter books to balance out the dark, heavy books.
Yeah, because it is getting dark.
And even, within a series itself, lighter books, especially if your books are all big books, the lighter books help readers kind of take a breather and get ready for the next book. At least from my point of view.
Thank you.
And I feel like it's totally fine to admit that it's not your best writing. That's human. Not every book can be a smashing hit, even though we would like it to be. That's just being human.
Well, this is better than my therapy. Thank you very much.
And it's free.
And it's free.
So, in addition to the Hand of Dragon series, do you have any other writing projects going on or planned?
Sort of. I have written a series of screenplays that I was going to convert into novels, because you can't make a movie by yourself, but you can self-publish a book. And I just wasn't strong enough at screenwriting. They have very specific formulas, and if you go outside the guidelines, chuck. But I found somebody who is he's actually my film professor from college, who's like, you write the story, and I'll squeeze it into format, and we'll shop some stuff. So I think I'll venture out. I didn't want to start another series because, as far as in my mind, I haven't gotten to book 2. You know what I mean? Like, all of this is just the backstory to get us to where we started. I'm still, I'm trying to get to this point to move forward. But I had an idea where I wanted to where a guy comes up with a pill that allows you to relive any memory at the extreme of the first time. So grandma's hug, your first kiss, that time you got really drunk, right? and just watch what happens to society when you don't have to move forward.
Right.
And just, you know what I mean? Like what happens if you can just stay in a perfect moment? Like how does, I know how an individual might act, but how does the world act?
Yeah.
And that's the one that's kicking around in my head that I would really like to write.
All right. Well, I look forward to reading that one day. Hopefully not too far in the future.
Yeah, hopefully.
That is all the questions that I had for you. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today?
Yes. My biggest problem right now is I don't know what my genre is.
Okay.
It is not quite spooky enough for dark fantasy. It's not bleak enough for grimdark. It's epic fantasy. It's high fantasy.
Mhm.
It's very mature, so it's not YA,
Yeah.
and it's not quite in your face enough to be lit RPG. But it has all of these elements, and I don't know how to advertise it. So as someone who has read 73% of the book, like how would you categorize this thing?
I would say it's um in my head it's epic fantasy with some dark elements.
Is epic dark fantasy a thing?
It can be. Let's make it. Create your own genre.
You are dangerous is what you are. So I'm
You
aghast.
can
I
say
need
what is,
yeah.
what is what.
I need an adult around to supervise me. So you can't enable me because
I have a degree in creative nonfiction writing.
Point made. Point taken.
You create your own. They always say, you write the book that you want to read.
And that's exactly
Create your own genre. Why not?
I wanted
Genres
to write,
had to come from somewhere, right?
yeah, like who decided that it's I will just be that cocky and just be like, boom, whole new genre right here. This is how it goes. I had gone into I wanted to write books. I wanted to read books for people who don't read books.
Mm.
Like I wanted to read a book that felt like watching John Wick.
Mm.
It's not deep, it's not heavy. It's like they kill this dog, revenge, and then we're off. It's just like Kill Bill, and it's just the spectacle. You know what I mean? You want to see how we do it. That's what I love about flat characters. Sherlock Holmes doesn't really change. You just want to see how we do it. James Bond doesn't change. You just want to see how we know Batman. Is Batman going to die? He's not going to die. We just want to see how he wins. And I love that. And I've gotten such a pushback from the literary community. It's like, well, you're using capitalization instead of italics, and you're putting stuff in like that should be a semicolon, not a colon. And it's like,
oh my gosh, don't get me started on semicolon.
I'm one of those people. It's like I am not an author. I'm a storyteller. Mm-hmm. I can tell you a story. I'm willing to pay someone a lot of money.
That's why you have an editor.
Exactly, to make it a book. Like
I got almost all the way through my first master's degree in creative writing. I was in my last semester or second to last semester before I learned the true purpose of a semicolon.
What is it? It's supposed to connect two ideas, right?
Essentially to connect two what would be separate sentences into one.
But isn't that what a comma does?
Comma is two phrases.
Oh.
Semicolon is what if you put a period instead of a semicolon, they're two complete sentences.
Got you. Well, I tell you, I'm not even really sure
what
complete sentences.
26, 27 before I learned that. So.
Well, I'm 44. I learned it today, so you're way ahead of me. So there you go.
Create your own genre. You go and start saying this, and I think you would be surprised how many people would jump on the bandwagon and be like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." In this book, in this series is that, in this series is that, and before
exactly. All right.
It's a pandemic.
Cool.
So we have a question from the crowd.
Ooh. Hello, the crowd.
Andreas would like to know how important mentors have been to you to explore your writing and to dare to try things.
I wrote this book and I rewrote this Rook. I wrote it and I rewrote it 3 times. And I showed it to a couple people and I got their feedback and they all said the same thing. This is cool as a project, but you won't sell this. No one's going to buy this. And then like I said, I read Mark Lawrence Prince of Thorns, and I reached out to him, and he said, I didn't intend to sell it. Like, I wrote what was in me. So someone giving you the confidence to do that thing, someone giving you that last little push, someone saying, it doesn't have to be the most popular thing. If it strikes a note with you, there's somebody else out there. There's a million other people out there that it's going to resonate with. So write the book. That has been my saving grace. I'm impulsive, and I try to think long and hard and weigh my options before I do something, because once I'm in, I'm neck deep. Like, I'm all the way in. But having somebody to say, this is good, this is not your best. To have somebody say, this was impressive. To have somebody say, you used a lot of big words, but I don't know what you're trying to tell me. Like, that is the sharpening stone, right? To make you an artist. It has made all the difference in the world. Without the teachers or mentors, or actually beta readers who care more about your future than your feelings, that is gold.
Hello. So if that's all that you have, that's all that I have. I'll say thank you for joining us today.
Oh, I will say this. Yes. Buy the book. Buy all the books.
Yes, that was my next thing. Okay, there you go. Thank you to everyone out there who joined us today, or who's watching this back later. Go out and buy Hand of the Dragons, the whole series, because it's fantastic. Even though I'm only 73% through book 1, I'm sold on it. I am suckered in. Next month, we will have 3 more self-pub authors on, so stay tuned for our announcements on that. One of them, at least one of them, will be a Grimdark author. So earlier you were talking about Grimdark.
Yeah.
We'll have John Palladino on, and see if I can remember, Joe Lee, author of The Bleeding Stone, and Palmer Pickering. Not in that order, because that was the way that they came to my mind. But they will be on in March. And for anyone out there watching, if you heard what you liked what you heard, but you haven't yet gotten your copy of Rook, if you are a top tier patron of mine, every month I have a giveaway of the authors that join us on Self Pub Sunday. So top tier meaning like $5 a month. And I do a drawing for it. So if you like what you hear, come and join and join our Discord. And again, thank you, Alexzander, for joining us today. This has been a lot of fun.
This is the best Sunday I've had in, I don't want to say how long.
Well, glad we could help. And everyone out there, have a great rest of your day and the weekend.